I'd say that we're joined now by the Chief Executive of Centrica, which, of course, is also known as British Gas to some, or owns British Gas. Chris O'Shea, thanks so much for joining us. Very good morning to you.
Thanks for having me in. Good morning.
I wanted to just step back and before we get to the budget and talk big picture, which is that despite being the owners of British Gas, you are a big believer in the long-term energy transition, the move from fossil fuels to renewable power.
Yes, yeah, indeed. So British Gas is our historic name. We were the state-owned gas company many years ago, and we supply about 27% of UK gas, but we also supply about 23% of UK electricity. And the energy transition is absolutely essential. We have to decarbonise the economy. The question is the pace at which we do it and the technology that we use to do it.
And in terms of that final point, are you suggesting that we've become too accelerated, that we're imposing too many targets on it, that we could take our foot off the gas a bit?
No, I think there's three things that you've got to think about. You've got to think about energy security, you've got to think about affordability, and you've got to think about sustainability, or the cleanliness. And these things are sometimes in conflict. And so we've just got to make sure that as we progress to decarbonise, to get clean, sustainable energy, we do it in a way that's affordable, and we make sure that we've got energy security.
Are we doing that at the moment?
So I think we're doing quite well. I think there's some things that we could improve. I think that we're seeing, for example, the regulator is about to give a new settlement to network companies. Based on what they've indicated that they'll propose, that will add £42 to every residential customer's electricity bill from April next year. Now, that's nearly £1 a week. That's a lot of money for people that are struggling. So I think that there's different ways that we could look at this, and I think the regulator has really got to think about affordability in terms of the pace at which we do this.
When it comes to both green energy and lowering our carbon emissions, but also cheaper energy, where do you stand on, clearly, the gas and oil that we still use, importing it versus drilling it our own? Is that a misnomer from the lobby that suggests if we did more of it ourselves, it would be both greener and cheaper, or not?
So we produce gas in the North Sea, but we don't explore for it anymore. And that's not a political statement, it's just that it wasn't an activity we're very good at. So we produce gas, but we don't explore. So if tomorrow we reopened the North Sea for exploration, Centrica wouldn't take any licences. So we don't really have a dog in that fight. If we produce more gas domestically, it will definitely be cleaner than imported gas. Now, we do import gas, and we just bought the UK's largest LNG terminal. So we can benefit from importing gas. But the right thing for the country is to produce the gas that we've got domestically. Now, the argument against that would be, if you produce more gas domestically, you simply have more gas on the global market. And there's some credibility to that argument. But if we're looking for the cheapest gas and we're looking for the cleanest gas in terms of carbon emissions, the domestically produced gas is the cheapest gas, is the cleanest gas.
And at the moment, what portion of the gas that we burn comes from overseas? And most of it comes from Norway, which is not that far away, but it doesn't all come from Norway?
So about 55% of UK gas is imported. We get probably around half of that comes from Norway. We're the biggest buyer of Norwegian gas. So we bring a lot of gas in through a pipeline into the east coast of the UK. That is cleaner than LNG, because LNG, effectively liquefied natural gas, you produce natural gas somewhere, you use energy to chill it, it turns into liquid, you ship it, the shipping's got emissions, the chilling's got emissions, and then you effectively defrost it. So that's got higher emissions, but around 55 to 60% of our gas is imported.
So I guess my final summing up question on this particular part is, are we just being a bit too fervently religious about the transition? And if we showed a bit more flexibility, could we in fact be both greener and cheaper?
So I think you'll find that there's a lot of noise in this debate, and there's a lot laid at the door of whatever government's in power. The reality is, between the two main parties, there is cross-party consensus on this. Our decarbonisation started under the Tony Blair-Gordon Brown government, it continued under the Coalition, it continued under the Conservatives, and it's continued under the current Labour government. And so what we're seeing at the moment is the product of more than 25 years of decarbonisation, excuse me, rather than something that's happened in the last 18 months or so. So I get a bit disappointed when it becomes a political football, because the reality is that this was not all done by the current government, it wasn't all done by the previous government, it's successive governments that have looked to decarbonise. And I just think at the moment, you've got inflation in the supply chain, and we've got the previous government, I think, stopped the exploration of the issuance of new licences in the North Sea. We don't think that's the right thing. We told the previous government, we told the current government, we think that there should be exploration in the North Sea. I'm worried about the loss of jobs there. I'm worried about the people that work in that industry. But also I'm worried about the fact that we're bringing in higher carbon gas into the UK. So we should produce our own gas.
Clearly the budget is coming up tomorrow. Are there simple, specific changes that you are optimistic will come that would help or not?
So there are some simple changes that we can do. Whether they're going to come or not is anybody's guess. We'll find out tomorrow when the Chancellor stands up. What we've argued for many, many years is that the policy costs of decarbonisation, which currently sit on electricity bills, should be moved to general taxation. That would take about £200 out of people's bills. And the reason for that is that general taxation is more progressive, so those with the broadest shoulders bear the biggest responsibility, whereas on energy bills as they are at the moment, then everybody picks up the same. It doesn't matter whether you're very rich or very poor, you pick up the same cost just now. If the Chancellor could do that, she could take about just over 10% off electricity bills. That would put more people in more money into people's pockets. It would help people that are struggling. So we've called for that for a long time. We also call for a social tariff, where those that can't afford their gas and electricity will pay less, and those that can will pay a bit more. I'm not sure we'll see that tomorrow in the budget, but I really hope that we see the transfer of policy costs onto the general taxation bill.
I guess it's fair to say your pay is public. You know, you paid £4 or £5 million last year. You're one of the people with the broader shoulders. You'd be happy to pay more tax to fund that sort of thing?
I think that would apply to both of us. Anybody here in the studio, I think that we are fortunate enough to have a well-paid job. I personally would be happy to pay more. I think that's fairer. I think that I believe in progressive taxation, so and that's why we call for these costs to be put onto general taxation.
I wanted to ask about a couple more things if we've got time. Energy price levy, which energy companies paying 78%. In terms of compared to the corporate tax rate, which is much lower. Is that an example where if the tax rate came down, the tax revenue could go up? Do you think there'd be a flood of investment if it came down or not really?
I think it's very hard to tell. I think that what we're looking for from the Chancellor tomorrow is a continuation of the push for growth. And anything that stimulates growth and reduces the cost of living and inflation would be appreciated. I think anything that we can do to get the North Sea working better so we have more domestically produced gas is to be applauded. We pay the 78% tax, and we think that there's a case for that tax to be changed. But whether that would result in a flood of investment, I don't know. And these are the decisions the Chancellor's got to make. You've got to try and figure out what will happen if you change X, Y or Z policy. Just
very quickly to end off, Zia Youssef of Reform was pointing out yesterday the amount being spent on fish. Some £700 million at Hinkley Point C. It's a nuclear power plant. You're not involved in that one. You're involved with one at Sizewell. And that in terms of the number of fish it's meant to help, £280,000 per fish is the estimate. Whether that's exactly right or not, people are comparing this to the Bat Tunnel with HS2. Do we have too much regulation for these types of projects? So we have lots of regulation, and the government's call to have regulators focused on growth is absolutely the right thing. Our regulator, mainly Ofgem, has got an awful lot of work to do. They are focused more on micromanagement than on growth, and they really need to create an environment to encourage investment. That's the only way that we're going to grow the economy. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Great to see you. Thank you very much. Thanks for stopping by.